All right, welcome back for our third segment. Here we are going to talk about kind of what happened with the Pro Bowl, kind of recap it, and maybe throw out some suggestions on maybe making it more like football again, having guys hit each other, or maybe other mini games or something like that where it could be a little bit more entertaining. I'll pass it off to Jason here to talk more about that.
Okay, so I, for whatever reason, decided to torture myself on Sunday because I had nothing to do, and I watched I didn't watch so much the Pro Bowl game, but I went on YouTube and watched all the clips of the different, like, whatever you want to call them, challenges, mini games, and I gotta say, I was actually very, very impressed with the Pro Bowl this year. They put a lot of effort into the different games. I don't know if you guys watch them, but the catch competition, even though it kind of turned into Stephon Diggs trying to pick up on cheerleaders, it was pretty entertaining. They had some cool lineman competition. They had like a kicking competition, a throwing competition where Derek Carr did really well, picked up on that, and they had a lot of different like fun activities. They had Snoop Dogg, Pete Davidson as a judges, and also LT, LaDainian Tomlinson. So I thought the games are really well done, and I definitely was entertained. But as far as like the actual Pro Bowl, um, I'll say I feel like the competition level and like the effort was up this year for the actual game. But I mean, we're talking about flag football. I mean, it was just pathetic, and I will say if they can find a way to match the all the skill challenges and mini games that they had with the with like a real football game, I think the Pro Bowl is back. But right now, I still think it's a joke. And I mean, God, flag football is just. I mean, does anybody really want to waste their Sunday watching flag football?
I mean, I don't even think the players want to do it. I mean, Josh Allen would rather play golf than do it.
Now, to give that, he did play Pebble Beach, so it makes sense. But
Yeah.
kind of adding on to what Jason said, the mini games this year were definitely like what I'd consider the carry for the Pro Bowl. It felt like they put all the effort into kind of adding a variety of games, getting the entertainment through that, and then the actual game, like although you might say it was a close contest, like in the end of the day, like 7-on-7 with flag football is never going to compare to the days that we always, like we were talking about before the podcast, the days where you saw guys high flying taking out other guys, like where they felt like the Pro Bowl was actually a game of like demonstrating your skills. And I feel like that is kind of a lost art nowadays. Everybody's so worried about injury, and so I feel like the NFL has to do a good job of incentivizing the reason to end up in the Pro Bowl, to play your best in the Pro Bowl, and then also adding a sporadic kind of like mini game idea, which will end up bringing viewership throughout the week. And so, with that being said, for ideas for next year for mini games, because obviously I don't think they should rinse repeat. That'd become kind of mundane and boring. They're probably going to keep the precision passer. They'll probably keep like some of the core, but I think they should add like other sports. Like they added a long drive for golf this year. I think it'd be kind of interesting if we saw like a 3-on-3 basketball pickup game with some of these guys, or like maybe even just like a home run derby with some of these guys. Something that adds in another sport that isn't necessarily just golf. I think that'd be really interesting. But
Mhm.
if you guys have any other ideas, don't be afraid to just shout them out. Throw out ideas. What would we like? Because it feels like the mini games are the. It's the time where these NFL players feel like they're actually like human. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you guys think of? I just have a couple ideas off the top of my head. 40-yard dash. You get the five fastest players in the Pro Bowl, and you have them, and they don't even have to be necessarily Pro Bowl, but just like for those competitions, specifically, you get the five fastest players or whoever the fans vote as the five fastest, and you have them do a 40 or 100, whatever you want it to be. Um, Maybe like a bench press competition because that used to be a big one that was entertaining. Um, I think you mentioned the furthest throw. I would love to see Josh Allen and Mahomes and Rodgers and well maybe not Rodgers anymore, but like Herbert and see who has the strongest arm. And then I think my favorite out of all of them would be what about one on ones? It can be edge and tackle or receiver and DB. Who would not want to see, um, Devontae against Jalen Ramsey or Justin Jefferson against Jair Alexander?
I should you not if I watched Trent Williams go against Nick Bosa one on one in the end and watch them run a route or do blocking, I would actually be favorable for either or. If it's just receiving or if it's actually like your position, I feel like that'd
That'd
be
be
really cool.
insane. Yeah.
But I feel like, as we said, like it, as I kind of hinted to earlier, everybody's so afraid to give their effort at the All Star or at the Pro Bowl because they feel like if one miss one misstep and there goes their fucking $5 million guaranteed or fucking $5 million in salary. It's just like,
Mhm.
what do you think the NFL has to do to incentivize the level of play that these guys are willing to give out on any other
Money.
Sunday?
Money.
Oh, we understand it's money and
Yeah.
deals and stuff like that. What kind of money?
Like what it just I'm not trying to hog this segment, but I was just thinking about so there's 88 players that make the Pro Bowl, 44 on each roster. I'm sure the NFL makes plenty of money off of like if they had a legitimate game and these two teams are I mean, how much does the NBA All-Star make? Like that game, how much do you think that they make off of that?
A good amount.
Dude,
A lot- yeah, a lot of
All-Star
money.
Weekend
So,
is
yeah.
expensive.
200
So-
billion or 300 million.
Well
300
over
million?
that.
Okay, so
Well
how
over.
Few
how
hundred
hard
million.
would it be? Yeah, a few hundred million. So how hard would it be to pay? And I'm not even saying they have to do this much. They could do $500,000, but you have 44 players. The winning team, every player gets $1 million. And if they think that's too much, cut it down to 500,000. But I mean, holy crap! If $1 million was on the line, I mean, I don't care how much my net worth is. I would be playing my ass off if I was in the Pro Bowl. I'd be hitting guys. I'd be playing aggressive. I would. That's $1 million we're talking about.
What I would add too is even if you have a high net worth or whatever that might be, you got a nice juicy salary going. Most of the
Yeah.
times, players can donate to that, like to a donation or a charity or something like that, and put it towards even a better cause than just themselves or their family or whatever. I do think it's just unfortunate with the physicality and the brutality of the sport. It just walks on such a fine line of how much you want to push it. Like you said, if you get one injury, you lose out on certain money, and then I mean nowadays it's all about money. But I do really like, yeah, I mean 500 to $1 million. I mean that would make players play as hard as they could, and then if you want to do mini games with each having some money on the line, something like that. My opinion would be put 25K on each little mini game that they do, and those goes towards charities or something like that. Make them play for something along those lines. Put it towards a good cause. And then one little point I'd also like to add is, like Austin said, make them play other sports too. I would love to see a defensive lineman take a jump shot and just see how ugly that might look, or whatever else. Like we saw the golf one, that was awesome. Watching some of them try to hit with a driver was hilarious, in my opinion, and that's huge entertainment value.
Dunking. I'd love to see those guys dunk.
Yeah, I mean, like dodgeball was exciting. You gotta create the entertainment, and like Jason, I think like you said with kind of some skills stuff. I mean, that's great. Like
Yeah.
you see that's what the NBA does. 3-point contest. They take the best 3-point shooters. Dunk contest, guys that can jump the highest or
Exactly.
like stuff like
Home
that.
run derby.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's funny that
Yeah.
Jason also went straight into the NFL Combine when he pulled out most of these things, though.
Yeah, but they don't do one-on-ones or like D line.
But I mean, that's what shows your talent. I mean, the
Yeah.
combine's created to show talent.
Well said. Josh.
And I agree. I mean, I miss the days. Like, I mean, have like more sponsors for it. I don't know about this year and maybe past couple years, but like, Burger King does a race, like an actual running race, like a 40-yard dash. Like that would be like I would tune in just to watch Christian Watson versus Tyreek Hill. Like I
Rich
think that'd be
Eisen.
awesome to watch.
Have you seen
What?
him run the 40 in a suit every
Dude,
year?
it's
He does.
funny.
It's funny.
Oh, right. Yeah. At the combine.
He runs like a 6'5".
Yeah, exactly. But like, yeah, just watching them like people race, all your favorite players going up against each other and more of like a personal thing. I mean, obviously we need to bring the actual game back too, but like have some cool things like like weightlifting and running and I mean, I like the idea of having other sports too, but I just don't I feel like the competition aspect is gone. Like that's the big thing is like the
So you put
competition.
money there.
Right, exactly. And yeah, I think that the only way you do that is bringing in money and stop being wimps.
I feel like that's actually a great segue into my second question. Do you think we're ever going to see a generation in this future that's going to move away from the money aspect and go back to the loving of the game? And I'm not discrediting people loving the game of football. I'm discrediting the fact that that's just the factor that usually leads compared to where money lies.
I think that. Are you asking all of us or Josh?
I'm asking everybody because I feel like this
Okay.
isn't a question that you can just single to one person.
Yeah, I think that real quick. I wanted to add one thing, something you could add to the Pro Bowl, or a couple things because we were talking about that. One, I think they need to get rid of like these stupid like head coaches or whatever, having these random legends or whatever. Pick the best coach of that year from AFC, pick the best coach from the NFC. That's how it's always been. And you pick the top coordinators. Stop bringing in Ray Lewis to be the defensive coordinator. I mean, like it's cool and it's cute, but come on, like really, this is a professional sport and it's supposed to be the best players and coaches from that year. And then one other thing I think they could do to make it better is at the NFL honors. I think they should actually honor the Pro Bowl MVP, or they can do it after the game, but just give it a little bit of more of like some credence, because that would make players want to play more. Going up on stage at the NFL honors, that's a huge deal because there's only like 10 awards that they give out. But to answer your question about um, it was about players playing more for passion than money. Was that the question?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think it's tough because I think there's been so many people have really there's been a light shined on um, more of like a player first mentality and trying to get your guaranteed money and realizing that this game is awesome, but it's also at the end of the day, it's your livelihood and it's how you're gonna take care of yourself and your family and future generations potentially, how much depending on how much money you make. And I think that's a problem. I think before a lot of it was more, there wasn't a lot of focus on that, but I think people have really seen how dirty some of these owners are, and yeah, I don't blame players for being selfish, and it's unfortunate, but like Cade mentioned, it's part of the violence of the game, and you can take a pay cut all day, but if you have one bad injury, an owner's going to cut you like that, and they're not gonna care or think twice about you. So yeah, I think the only way to do that is like maybe have money on the line for the actual game and try to get players to be interested in that.
Can I interject for one moment before Kate and Josh kind of throw out an idea?
Go ahead.
So, the reason why I agree and disagree, I think it's completely true with how greedy owners are. And I feel like players definitely have the rights to demand their money. But how much money is too much money? Truthfully, in the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, you want to support your generations. I don't know how many generations you plan on supporting with $250 million, but I can assure you, as long as you don't blow it away like a complete jackass, that's going to support so many people in the future. So if you financially plan right, if you actually like, if everybody's going to hop on this soapbox and say, I want to help my families from this on, grab 90% of your money, invest it, because you have plenty of money left. And I promise you, families down the line, your whole lineage for however long is going to be fine. So I feel like we need to draw a line where we say they need guaranteed money, because most of them don't need this much money. We just think they do because that's what we value them at.
They need guaranteed money. You're right. I agree with that.
So
Contract should be 100%, in my opinion.
that's a tough one. because
Then
Well,
that again
well,
takes away the incentive and the passion.
that's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
if you're just gonna if you can sit on the bench and make all your money,
That's like a
then
Kenny
that's what they'll
Galladay
do.
mentality.
okay. Well, Kenny Galladay, did he really like? I don't know the reason like why he's been struggling, but did they say it was like lack of passion or what was it? Because I don't know enough about that situation.
He's
I
a
was thinking about that the other day actually, like looking into that.
I don't know if it was necessarily a lack of passion, but I feel like he just didn't the scheme, and maybe he didn't fit as well with the Giants as he did with the Lions. But again, I'm not deep enough to say that that's the only like that's a cause and effect. But I'm gonna move away from me. I'm gonna let Kate and Josh kind of tag into their thoughts.
I just want to hop in, kind of what you're saying about how much do they really need to support future generations. My stance on that too would be like further in that would be like if you're trying to rack up all this money to just hand out to your future generations, for me it's like, then what are you teaching those future generations on working hard, earning your own money, like all those like principles in my opinion that are very like important and like valuable and like something that you should be aspiring to be doing, like growing up and becoming an adult and all that, like it just gets handed down to you from your great grandfather who was an NFL stud who raked in $350 million. Like to me that like gets even deeper, and it's like you should just have that kid be growing up to like do it himself in a way, not just have it be handed to him. And so like yeah, like that would be my thing is like, and I would hope that at some point it stops is my take is like, I hope that we can get away from it being all about money and it being like the love
Happiness and
game,
yeah.
competing, that type of stuff.
Well, I think that boils down to like a societal problem, and that's that goes more than the NFL. And I mean, I mean, on the other side of the coin, and I don't mean to like get political or anything, but when eggs are $8 a gallon, or not $8 a gallon, eggs are $8 a dozen, and gas is $6, $7,
Quit that.
$8 a gallon. I mean, and things are just keep on going. Inflation gets higher, the dollar gets weaker. I mean, you need more money. I mean, we see $250 million as a ton now, but what in 20 years, what is $250 million going to be?
Probably still a ton.
Josh, to kind of go into that, inflation doesn't increase that much, where $250 million will lose that kind of value. Not until
I'm not saying it won't be anything. I'm not saying it won't be anything, but I'm
I think
saying
taxes
that
are the biggest one.
I think in 20
There's a
years
lot of
we're going to
factors.
see a lot more people. I think we're going to see people getting a lot more people, maybe getting like $100 million a year in 20 years,
Well, so
and that'll be regular for a quarterback to get $100 million a year, because
it's
money,
already right. Oh,
every
no,
every
not
single day the dollar gets weaker, and it's
But
never
you
going to
need
get stronger.
$100 million a year to live off of. That's like,
that's ridiculous.
yeah.
So,
But that's how we see things now.
No, absolutely.
I mean, 20
not
years
gonna-
ago,
Yeah,
living off $50 million a year was insane, but now that's like the average for a quarterback,
for
or
sure.
for a decent quarterback.
Here's how I look. Yeah, I look at it as like I would rather the players have the money than the owners, and someone's gonna have it. It's unfortunate. I think they should divide up the contracts more. I think it's complete bullshit that shit. Hopefully, YouTube doesn't kick us for that.
Bryce.
But yeah, but I was gonna say, yeah, they're weird about like swearing and stuff now. But I was gonna say, what disappoints me, like kind of moving away from the Pro Bowl, is that there's a lot of guys on practice squad rosters, and they're making some of these guys are only making 50K a year, 50K a year to put your body on the line, and you're working just as hard as the Jamar Chases and the Josh Allens and the Von Millers of the world. You're working probably just as hard as them, and you're probably working maybe even a little harder because you're trying to make a name for yourself. And you're making 50,000 a year. I mean, I think take Mahomes got 500 million, take some money away from that, throw these guys 500,000 to be a practice squad guy. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So,
Guys are NFL players.
Yeah, to tag into this, I have two comments. That one, you really truly see who really loves the game when you're making that kind of salary. Same thing with AAA, AA, and single A, especially single A for baseball. Those guys are making penny to the dollars compared to the pro. You really see the guys who love the game when they surround themselves when they're barely living off sustainable wages. But with that being said, I am a big advocate for guys not getting paid this much, but I also hate dividing people's money and giving it to other people in a capitalistic society because that takes away the
No,
value of
pause real
entertainment.
quick. So I'm not saying like, oh, gotta take Mahomes' money and donate it to these guys. I'm just saying change the market up a little. So instead of quarterbacks getting paid 55, 60 million a year, make it more like 35, 40 million. I think that's plenty of money a year for any quarterback. And then use that leftover money that you have as a team and raise the standard of what these guys on the practice squad and at the bottom of the roster are getting paid, or coaches even. There's a lot of coaches like they're like assistant coaches, they're not making a lot, you know. They're working their asses off.
You'd be great for the Players Association with that point.
Thank you. I got to make it to the league before I can be on.
I think you're
Players
completely right. I think that's something very possible. With Austin's kind of point, I think it comes full circle in the regard of, and how I think how it's working right now in like how I'm thinking about it is that they're paying these certain guys, Mahomes, the guys, because they are the stars. They are the people bringing in the entertainment. They are the one bringing in the money. And a lot of these players are like, I'm the one bringing in the money, so give me a good cut of that type of thing, which I think is fair. But to be joining with you as well, Jason, is like, yeah, they should also be able to split that up a little bit more. They should be able to split that a little bit better.
Just a little. I'm not saying let's make this a communist league and give everybody, $1 million a year. But I'm saying,
Sure.
Mahomes can still be the highest paid quarterback, and the practice squad guy can, actually feed his family and live in a house.
Do you guys think that there should be a like personal cap
Yes.
that obviously the NFL can like
100%.
adjust, just like they do regular cap space? They can adjust it every year to
Like
deal
per
with
player?
inflation. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Per position.
100%.
Yeah, that would be
I think
smart.
so. I think so too.
I
The
think
MLB recently finally did that for their minor league players, where they increased it and made, like, I guess, lack of a better word, like better benefits all the way around for the people that are in the minors compared to the major league.
Well, the NFL has it too. There's a minimum cap,
For sure.
like a veteran minimum,
For sure.
but there's not a cap maximum.
Yeah, I think, but I guess I was taking that as like they should raise that minimum, and it going along with
Right.
Jason's point. The maximum,
Raise
yeah,
the minimum instead of maximum.
because it's a competition between who gets to be called the highest paid quarterback or who's the highest paid wide receiver. I feel like that's a competition.
For 3 months.
Well, yeah.
For only
And
like
then,
3 months.
you know,
The next guy's gonna
And then when then one player they get their contract, they're like, and then another player says, "Oh, I'm just as good as him, or I'm better than him, so give me
Right.
that money." And,
Right.
Who
it
was
just keeps
it?
on going.
Who was it? Tyreek, like when Devontae and Tyreek got traded, Devontae got the bag. It was like 30 million a year, and then Tyreek wanted like oh no, I'm wrong players. It was Trent Williams and I think David Bakhtiari. And Trent Williams, when he got his contract, he wanted like 10 more thousand than David Bakhtiari, so he could be the highest paid left tackle.
Yeah, no, going to the personal cap statement, I think that, again, in a capitalist society, you should make what you generate, yada, 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 that whole 9 yards. However, I do think there's a limit on what is too much. And I think that, like, with inflation rising and whatever taxes we want to incorporate in this, I think that it should steadily increase with that, but I don't think it should be I got paid $30 million. The next guy up should get paid 31 million, and then this like continual growth that everybody has, and then you watch your superstars just stack on top of each other. Like as Josh was kind of talking about, in 20 years, $100 million contracts are going to be the norm. Truthfully, like you're gonna watch your next Mahomes come into the league making $80 million on his first large fucking 4 or 5 year contract, and you're like, how are we witnessing this? How is like, and I feel like the only way this stops, there's no way they're gonna set a max on this. It's up to us as a society to not fucking fund that. That's the only way this stops.
So Austin, something else I want to add on is something I was never a fan of was Tom Brady taking pay cuts, and a lot of people like praised him for it because it helped the team go and spend money elsewhere. But I've always looked at it as like there should be the minimum that a guy like Tom Brady, we're talking about the greatest player of all time. And he at every single year of his career, just about, he was a top 5 quarterback or even better. There should be a minimum. It's like if you're that damn good of a player or you're putting up these types of stats every year, you should have like a range of what you can get paid. Because I know some years he was getting paid 20 million or less, and what it really should have been, like if he was playing today, I can see like, okay, he should be paid between 38 and 50 million, and then they can negotiate between those boundaries.
Can I my counter argument to that is the fact that his wife made a stupid amount of money, and financial decisions definitely were not an issue in that household at that point in time. So
No, but I'm worried about like super teams because like we saw Tampa Bay, they were just and
It
New
shouldn't be
England
able to
for a
like
long time.
manipulate the cap.
Yeah, and then
like
and then
that.
it puts guys. I'm just using like guys like Rodgers or Mahomes. It kind of puts like a bad look on them because it's like, oh well, they're not taking a pay cut.
Oh no, it's
Right.
I disagree. I completely disagree. I think Tom Brady being able to take that pay cut shows the kind of mentality that he's going for. And I think that it's not necessarily a bad look on those two other guys. It's just their choices of play. Like you can't knock a man who's willing to cut his pay because he wants to fund other positions, but you can knock another guy who wasn't willing to do that same decision for that reason. Like it's unfair to be like Tom Brady, instead of choosing to take more money, he chose to not take money and to fund other positions. Like other people don't have the same opportunities. It's not like 10 million isn't enough.
I was gonna say I can't you can't punish someone being for being selfless, in my opinion. Like you can't do that. Like Austin's saying, if he's going to take a selfless approach, and then in my opinion, a very good way of being selfish by doing that because you can build a better team around you, that's smart, and that's like kudos to him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess I'm
But
just a little salty because my quarterback never did that. Cost us
But
probably
yeah, I
like
mean,
18
but you also
rings.
can't knock a guy that, I mean, they've been working their entire lives. Even before they've been working their entire lives. They work their ass off to get to the position they're in. You can't. I mean, they're taking advantage of it.
Oh,
Get as much money while you can and get out.
that's perfectly unacceptable. But that's not the point Jason was bringing up.
Unacceptable or
No,
acceptable?
that's perfectly
I'm just
acceptable.
saying,
I think
how many millions does Rodgers need? Like, come on, bro.
hey,
Like this,
I'd probably say about
I'm just
400.
saying. Okay, I'm sure he has probably close to that.
You
or just like,
won't even touch
350,
150 million of that. Like it's not even gonna come close.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous. His net worth is like 330 million, and that's not. I don't think that's even including like what he has in assets. I don't know if
His,
net worth.
net
his
worth
investment
includes
into the
assets.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, network.
Yeah.
It's assets,
With
but
his, with his new girlfriend, she's
He
like the
invested
owner
in
of
the
the
Bucks
or
before they
whatever.
won the finals too.
yeah. But let's wrap up this segment, and then we'll hop into who the new face of the league's going to be. We have definitely many names that can come to mind, but one that should be leading the